Hello and welcome to the Crochet Cakes YouTube channel. In today's podcast episode 108, we are going to be talking about living the seasons. Pause for a sip of very bad tea. PSA: almond milk does not a good iced tea make. Hello, my lovely community of friends. I hope that you find yourself in good health and you've had some very happy moments. It's been a while since we actually last sat down to talk to each other. And that is because the last video that I uploaded to the channel was about how I made my summer breeze top. You can find the podcast in the eye here. I never know which way it goes. It's just in one of these things. And you can also find the descriptions and links and chapters for this podcast episode in the description box below. I did put out a call about that in I think my last actual podcast episode, and I had one person, but I'm assuming we all feel this way, say that they really enjoyed just seeing the podcast notes in YouTube because it's just one click away, and I fully understand that. So we are keeping the podcast notes in the description box below. I feel like I boxed myself into this corner because I want the microphone to pick up my voice and not any surrounding noises. So I put the camera very, very close, and now it's just a plain background and a tiny little image of Alice in Wonderland having tea. That a lovely viewer of this podcast sent to me years ago, Sinead. I hope you're doing well. She drew this up and it is beautiful. In fact, I'll just hold that up. It's so beautiful. I love it. If you didn't know, I'm a Mad Hatter fan. So I do enjoy Alice in Wonderland and decorating with mushrooms. Right, so where to start? It's summer. It's still summer, right? And because it's still summer, we are running the Summer Romance Cal until the 31st of August. I put out a little poll on Instagram because originally the Summer Romance Cal was supposed to have ended on the 1st of August. Full disclosure, I hadn't even started my Summer Romance Cal project, so I thought there have to be other people that kind of just time got away with them. And you know what? It's still summer. Technically, I live in Florida, so it's summer 10, 11 months out of the year. So yeah, and if you live in Puerto Rico, hi mom, which I used to do, then it's just summer 50 weeks out of the 52, right? So anyway, point being that I just thought, let's extend it. Let's just have some more casual fun together. If you are interested in participating, you still have time. And the Summer Romance Cal runs until the 31st of August, like I said. And we're just running it on Instagram, #SRCal2021. And the topic was paranormal romance, which sometimes can be a little confusing because when I think paranormal, I think just ghosts and like things like that. So sometimes I mix supernatural in there and it can get a little bit muddled up. So just, be free with it. Show some love to whatever you want to show some love to. Anyway, I will be discussing that project a little bit later on in the episode. I completely forgot to bring it, but I will get up and get it for you guys. So do you know that I've been putting off recording this podcast because I just felt that none of the gazillion whips that I have, because I discovered so many whips when I was trying to organize my stash, which I failed at miserably. Anyway, all these whips, and I felt none of them have a single thing in common. There's nothing we can like properly chat about, because I have to be honest with you, I'm really liking recording or chatting with you when we have like a theme going on, that we can have discussions and we can all express our opinions and just chat away in the comments. I'm really liking those types of podcasts, and I also realize they make you want to comment as well. So that is my goal. Anyway, I felt that there just wasn't anything that was kind of gluing all of these whips together until something amazing happened last week. And what happened last week was the sun wasn't up at 6 a.m. and between the hours of 6 to 8, it was below 80 degrees. And I thought, this is practically winter. For Florida anyway. So that of course brought up the topic of all the woolly makes that I've paused in the making of because it's summer, and I believe we touched this in the previous podcast episode. I'm not an ahead of the season maker. I do not plan my makes for winter and summer. In fact, I am a horrible planner, and I've recently just acknowledged the fact that planning makes me angry. Like when people ask me, oh, what are you going to be doing for Christmas? I don't know, don't ask, why are you asking? You know, I just really makes me angry for some reason. And I think just having to commit to this specific date and then it just makes me anxious instead of making me feel organized. So it's a thin line between feeling organized and feeling that something has to happen on this date and everything possible has to be done before this date. So yeah, I get angry. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's definitely the opposite of a good thing, but at the moment it is what it is. And I've acknowledged this planning stage just makes me angry, which I guess is a good reason. It's a good thing I have a gazillion pile of whips because there are, like I said, woolly makes in there that haven't seen the light of day in months. And because I'm not an ahead season maker, I didn't make my summer garments in winter and I didn't make my winter garments in summer. I started making them in winter of last year and gave them a pause. So that means that I do have lovely woolly makes that I can finish for Christmas this year. So I guess that is an advantage of having a big pile of whips, even though I find it extremely stressful. It also gives one the freedom of actually not planning so far ahead because, as I said, I started some of these woolly makes in November of last year, and yeah, okay, they haven't seen the light of day in, 9 months or whatever, but they're gonna be seen now and I'm hopefully gonna finish them. So I thought it would be a good idea of discussing these makes and, living or thinking about the season we are in. Because as I said, we're still in summer, right? And you go to the stores and all you see is fall things. And I want to enjoy the season I'm in. I'm not a big fan of the humidity, but I love watermelon mojitos and I like citrus and I like all the beautiful, gorgeous crops that we can find during the summer. I feel like I eat really well in the summer, lots of fruit and vegetables. So I just think it's very important to acknowledge that sometimes when we're thinking of making ahead, sometimes we're living ahead as well. It's not just the let me make this because I will need it in the future. It's more of a let me make this because I'm dreaming and wanting it. I'm wanting that future immediately, and I don't want to live that way, honestly. And it's one of the most difficult things about trying to have a job as a crochet designer. It's that you actually have to live that way, and it's a fine line between making this because it's a job and you have to get it into production, and I fully understand why. It's a whole process of you're making the pattern, writing up a pattern, the technical edits, the back and forth of is this what you meant, is this okay, and it's a process that can take several months. So I understand why you have to be planning so far ahead, but then in that planning so far ahead, I kind of lose myself and I don't live in this present moment that I am. And I think that is part of the reason we talk about slow living and things like that. It's because we want to be living in that moment. We want to be acknowledging our existence in this very moment, and I also thought about this a lot when I had an office job because I hated it. I'm not sugarcoating it, guys. I hated that job. And not the librarian. I quite liked being a librarian, mostly because I got to say I'm a librarian. But my other office job that I got when I was in Florida, I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. for reasons I'm not gonna get into, but the point of it was that on Monday I was dreaming about Friday. So I kind of like wasted 5 days of my life just dreaming about one day. And that's not healthy, you know. At least I don't think it's healthy. And I know many of us feel this way because, yes, we always talk about thank God it's Friday. And I do still feel that a little bit, mostly because I think on the weekends I get to spend more time with my husband and my dog, and we do things as a family, and that's really important to me. But also now I just work 24/7, so the weekend has kind of lost its meaning a little bit, and the only reason I know it's Friday is because I go to my chiropractor appointments on Friday, because let's just say my body does not like me crocheting a lot. So talking about these seasons and bringing all these woolly things back online, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is my Crochet Sea Glass Tea. Now, you know, she was finished. I'm not gonna lie, she was finished. And then I didn't like how she was looking, so I ripped it all back because I had handed in my notes as a tester, and you know, I had fulfilled that role. So I felt that I could rip back my project and make changes that I wanted to make. There was nothing drastic. It's just I did not like the way it was so wide and so cropped. For me, I like wearing crop tops, don't get me wrong, but there's a fine line between form-fitting. Well, I mean, there's a huge difference between form-fitting and too wide, but I kind of like want something in between, something that tucks in nicely and flatters my form, but doesn't constrict me. And I really wanted to wear this top. So I actually did something that I don't usually do, and I went in and I frogged as much as I could because I had actually woven in half of my ends, and boy, I don't know what I did to those bad boys, but I couldn't find them. So I frogged up to the point where I could, and you're seeing now how it looks. Voila, magic of editing. But yeah, I just basically added a couple of inches, and it's right on my belly button right now, so it's kind of funny that I actually added about 3 more inches and it's still in my belly button. But I really like this. This is a 1x1 color work technique. I will link the designer in the description box below, her Instagram, so that you can just go directly to her page if you want to access it through Etsy or Ravelry. I forget where they're selling it through, but you can find all the information from their page. And I'm also going to be writing a blog post this week to accompany this Crochet Sea Glass Tea, because I want to talk to you guys more about the color work techniques and the differences between this 1x1 color work and the color work I've done previously. So I've done tapestry crochet, mosaic crochet, and then this one, which is 1x1 color work. And I think you learn something from all of them, honestly. And in this blog post that I'm going to write, I'm going to talk about the color schemes, my notes, changes I made to row counts and things like that, and especially gauge, because the whole reason behind why I frogged back was because I found that the gauge I had for the yoke was fine, because I didn't want it to be too tight on my chest area, and I think it lays nicely. But I got very confident with the technique, and I got very used to the technique and how I held my yarn. So when I got to the bottom of the sweater, I didn't like how wide and flared out it was. And so I just solved that by using a 4.5mm crochet hook to kind of come down from the 5mm, and then the 4mm hook. And quite honestly, I think ever since I divided for the sleeves here, I could have gone down to a 4mm, and I would have been very happy with it as well. You might be wondering, why a 5mm crochet hook? Well, when you use color work, it doesn't stretch as much as you think, and having a big hook allows for a more comfortable you know, easing in and out of the stitches and changing color, because as I said, it's 1x1 color work, and that means you are changing color in every stitch, not every row as I thought first, it's every stitch. So it can get a little bit too much. And now that we've talked about what I'm wearing, which is incidentally a finished object as well, I thought we could talk about one of those whips that have been frozen in time, and I really do want to finish. And the first one up is actually one that I started about in November. It's made with my favorite wool of the Andes color, and it is the Cadet colorway. I love this color. It's basically a Civil War blue. It's a blue-gray, kind of tealy dark blue-gray. Not showing up in the camera well at all, honestly. It's picking it up way more slate gray than blue-gray. But either way, this is an unnamed top. It has a different construction that I'm very familiar with, and if you've ever knit, you're probably familiar with it as well, because I first came across this construction with Andy Satterlund's patterns. So you essentially start in the back, work your way up, and then you make your little tabs for your shoulders, and then you make your front, and then you start working in the round. It's taken a long time because, well, the stitch that I'm using is very tiny, but I actually really love the effect of the stitch, and I really want to continue, but I have to figure out where I am in this pattern. I don't know where my notes are. I don't know what my stitch markers mean. I honestly don't know anything right now about this. I think actually my stitch markers mean that this is the beginning, and then this is the middle, and this is where I'm doing my waist decreases, I think. And I really want to finish this one because, as I said, it's a very unique construction. I'm hoping it'll be a very fitted garment, because one of the things I loved about Andy Satterlund's patterns was that fitted look that you get. It's just so vintage, and I adore it, especially wearing it over a dress or over a skirt. It's very me. It's actually one of the reasons I really like it when shirts finish in my natural waistline, but then sometimes you really want a long sweater. Well, this is not going to be it, guys. This was meant to be a very vintage design. It's going to stretch a lot. Look at that, look at that. Which actually does concern me, because I think I made this shoulder area way too big. So I actually was thinking of blocking this and seeing how much it stretched before I continue. Or, you know, really what I'm probably going to do is continue it, block it, and then rip back if it doesn't work. I had blocked my sample really well, so this was all based on my blocked gauge, which I think it's something we should also talk about. Patterns usually mention gauged, but do they mention blocked or unblocked? Important. So once I figure out where I am in the pattern, I think I am going to finish this one. I'm going to be on Sleeve Island for a while, and I actually do not know if I have enough yarn for it. But I had actually planned for that, and I saved some worsted weight wool that's kind of got similar colors to the Cadet colorway to kind of do a contrasting rib. So I actually really like this pattern. The only reason I didn't continue with it was because I'm working in slip stitches, and that's really slow, and also wool. So yeah, another pattern that I wanted to talk to you about that's kind of been in the sidelines is my stash busting fingering weight sweater. Now this sweater, you've seen it before. I did a whole process video dedicated to it, well, part one of it, and if you guys haven't watched it, I'll click it here as well, because I do want to share what I've been doing here. So you can see more details in the for process video, but essentially just trying my hand a tiny bit of fading. I actually think I should have done more fading, but I'm not the most patient of people. which can be a downside. But anyway, this is a reverse raglan sweater, and the reason why I was doing a process video for you guys was because the reverse raglan is a technique that confuses a lot of people in my Las Nubes top, which was the first time I ever did the reverse raglan. And I wanted to do a little video that didn't involve me crochet the Las Nubes top again, because when I was designing that pattern, I made 4 versions of that top, and at least I can only make so many versions of a design before it just, I can't. Especially when it comes to garment, right? You don't want to just overwhelm yourself with them. So this is another woolly make. This one is bright and cheery, and I think I might give it a little block just to see how much is stretching, because honestly I didn't really stretch this one before working with it. I just did it, and I do want this to be a long tunic-like top. So right now I've introduced one of the final colors in the pattern, which is this one. So these two, the bottom one, it's kind of got a green base, lots of greens, purples, teals, and then we move on to a more aqua teal, and then definitely more minty green, but still with some hints of blue. And then we're moving on to this one, which is kind of got a Mediterranean sea blue with lime greens in it and chartreuses colors. So I've started with that because that's going to be the yoke section of the sweater. I have 2 balls of that. It's actually sport weight, not fingering weight, but I had 2 balls of it and I really wanted to put them to good use. So now in this sweater, what comes next is actually crocheting the sleeves, and then you can move on to the yoke part of the sweater. So that's another garment project that I hope to finish and wear, and definitely write up a blog post for you guys. That one's not going to be a proper pattern because I really based it on my own measurements. So I thought I would give you the recipe for it, you know, where I measured, how I determined this, why I decided to do this, just to give you a kind of walking guideline to what we're going to be working with. And you can have a visual representation as well in video format. Now, another whip that I discovered was a pumpkin that I had started ages ago. And if you guys saw my Instagram, you will have known that I thought I was really far ahead with this pumpkin and I could finish it así, pronto. No, I was very not where I thought I was. So I'm gonna pause here and restart my camera. Okay, so this is just no real pattern. I'm just doing, like some viewers of the podcast and fellow Instagram friends told me, just, you know, do a little basketball shape and then just tie it around and get your pumpkin ridges. And I'm doing a white one because I do have one ceramic white pumpkin and I thought it was getting a little lonely. So I thought I would do white mixed with cream because white pumpkins tend to get brown spots as they age, right? So I thought that would be cute and fun. And I'm just, I'll probably share a little recipe for this as well if you guys just want to know how I did it, not because I think you guys need it. There are so many pumpkin patterns on the internet already, but I don't know, I just wanted to have a conversation with you via my blog, which I love. I'm loving writing up actual blog posts, not just pattern blog posts. So what am I doing here? I am holding, this is Big Twist. It is Big Twist, which is Joann's brand of acrylic yarn, just white. I really like their acrylic yarn. And Caron Simply Soft, I had left over from when I made my super long fall scarf. This is my favorite color from Caron Simply Soft. It is Bone, and it's so beautiful. It looks like champagne and sand, all shiny, and just, I really like this color. So I'm just holding those together and crocheting it with a 5.5 millimeter hook in the amigurumi method, which means I'm just going around and around. I'm holding it up close to the camera so you guys can see how it's looking up like a little basket. And is it focused on me? Sorry, I'm checking the focus because I've realized that this camera is not focusing well at all. So I really hope this is not another blurry video. I'm gonna be very upset. So that's another whip. And I'm not getting into all the whips I have because that would be an extremely long episode and I've already been talking for 30 minutes and I don't want to bore you guys. So this is the last of the fall whips I've discovered. Is it the last of the fall whips? Yeah, pretty sure it's the last of the fall whips. Not counting commissions, which I've handed one in. I'm waiting for the yarn to come in for one that I will have to put pause on all personal projects because I'm going to be making something in a size I'm not used to, and that's going to require speed and skill and stamina. God, that sounded so wrong. Please ignore that. Right, so this is my pumpkins. And the other thing I thought I would talk to you guys about in crochet-wise is upcoming projects, patterns, ideas, shenanigans, baking. So in upcoming patterns, I have the green thing. It's my green cardigan with the lacy sleeves that I showed you a reveal of in my Dark Academia style video, which I will also link here. If you haven't watched how I style my crochet, then please do check that out. I had so much fun filming that for you guys. But I revealed that cardigan right at the very end, and I don't have a name for it, so I'm calling it the green thing right now. And it's written up. My tech editor is in the process of tech editing. So hopefully that will be coming your way in September. And then do not think I have forgotten about Socktober. Sorry about that. My memory card was full and I had to delete all the videos regarding the Summer Breeze process video. So I hope, yeah. Anyway, I think we were talking about crochet socks, right? Really terrible. Right, so Socktober, for those of you that do not know, it's the month in which generally we make a whole bunch of socks, and it flows in very nicely. Socks and October, Socktober. So that's what we're talking about. I've already started my design, which I will share with you. It is a sock. And this is what I've got so far. The interesting part of the pattern is arriving very shortly, and I'm very excited. So once I finish this one sock, I'm going to write the pattern up, get it to my tech editor, and work my second one up following the instructions I've written to see if they make sense to me. So right now I am using Coop Knits gold color. It is a sock yarn, very thin sock yarn. Highly recommend it for crochet because, as you know, crochet socks tend to be a bit on the thicker side. So normal fingering weight yarns tend to be a little bit too thick for your liking if you're comparing them to knit socks, I mean, which they're completely different. So these are made with the gold from Coop Knits, and then the main colorway is from Crafternoon Treats, and this is her Firebird colorway. It is a gorgeous, just kind of pale yellow base, like a creamy pale yellow base with speckles of purple, fuchsia, orange, gold. It just screams autumn to me. And I'm holding it up close to the camera, hoping it'll focus. That didn't focus at all. So I hope my explanation suffices. I'll include a picture here as well. And I'm very happy with how it's turning out. I've actually used a 3mm hook and a 3.25mm hook for this sock because I found actually that with Catherine's yarn, which is a Corriedale Polworth blend, it wasn't as stretchy as I normally use. And also because of this yarn being a lot thinner, it didn't feel as stretchy. But that's fine. And it's also the thing with crochet socks is that they are super yarn and gauge specific. So if you're making this sock pattern, you kind of have to take that into account if you're using a different sock blend from me. That gauge should be matched. And if not, invention, guys. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So invent the way the socks are going to fit you. And by that, I generally mean sometimes you may have to crochet less inches than the pattern specifies. You may have to use a wider stitch count, shorter length, you know, just that kind of thing. I do have several blog posts written up on crochet socks and how to get well-fitting crochet socks and what happens when you just change the yarn in a crochet sock pattern from, you know, what's recommended. So if you're interested in those, I'll also leave them linked down below. But guys, I'm in love with these socks, and I still haven't gotten to the best part because there will be a little bit of color work here. I give you a sneak peek. It's almost September. It's okay. So that's an upcoming project that I'm super excited about, and I even matched my bag to my project because the crochet hook I'm using is a 3mm tulip crochet hook, and it's the red matte hook, which if you can snag yourself a set of those red hooks, I think they're my favorite of the tulip. I have the tulip black gold ones, I have the tulip pink ones, 2 sizes, not the whole sets, and I have that red one. Love it. Love the matte of it. It's a little bit too thin for my hands, but I do like the matteness of the hook. So anyway, this lovely fox bag my mom sewed for me ages ago. It's one of my favorites because the foxes have glasses on them and they're cat eye glasses, and I love it. Right, so bag aside, project aside, the other one that I wanted to talk to you about was my summer romance project. Right, so my summer romance project, as I said, I'm representing, did I say that I'm representing The Mummy? Well, that's what I'm going for, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Never get tired of watching it. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 do not exist. You can quote me on that. Anyway, so I'm working up the Treasure Island shawl, and I feel a little bit of a cheat because I actually started this on Saturday. And for those of you who don't know or don't remember, the Treasure Island shawl is a Hannah of the Cozy Cottage crochet pattern. It's from years and years ago. She very kindly, gorgeously gave me a free a PDF. She gifted a PDF to me of her pattern, and I'm finally getting around to working it up. And I am working it up in a very special yarn. This yarn is all the way from Australia, and it is from my favorite people, the Stitchcrafts. So this is Stitchcraft and Wizardry yarn. Not that the camera is going to focus, but this is Stitchcraft and Wizardry yarn. I will leave their link down below. This colorway is from the Classic Crimes collection, Hercule Poirot, on Princess Jasmine base, which is 80% superwash EF merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. Wow, I didn't know it was so lovely. And it is 350 meters, 100 grams. So it is a very plump 4-ply, and you can definitely tell that it is a plump 4-ply. I actually didn't do a gauge swatch. The pattern recommends a 5.5mm hook, but I know my gauge is on the loose side, so I went down to a 5mm hook. And once I'd worked up this entire portion right before the decreases of the pattern, I did a gauge swatch, and it actually matches the one provided in the pattern, assuming it was unblocked. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this is working up. It's very soft. I don't know if it will stretch as much as Hannah's did, but either way, I'm very happy to finally be making it, and it is so beautiful. I cannot describe the freedom that it is to be able to just work up somebody else's pattern, pay attention to their instructions and what they're doing, and just put my brain in a little bit of a rest. And just, it's actually more freeing than designing my own things, because designing has become my job, right? So it feels very structured. I have to pause every so often and write down what I'm doing and whatever. And this is just like, yeah, I'm going with it. So it feels really great. It's super, super soft yarn, and I'm loving working up the pattern. I think I'm about to start the middle section or the decreases. No, I think I'm about to start the middle section, close to the middle section at least. And I know that I talked about living in the seasons and all that, but honestly, this color just looks so much like a sand that I still feel it's summer. And it is fingering weight wool, and it's called Treasure Island, which just brings to mind a beach theme. So I don't really associate this project with autumn or winter or anything. I'm associating it with the summer romance cal, which still means I am enjoying my summer seasons and crocheting inside, because honestly, the humidity, it's been murder. So that's also one of the crochet projects I have going. I have several others. Well, we won't get into all those. But anyway, the other things that I'm thinking about are upcoming gifts. My husband has been requesting a Subaru sweater for a while now, and I've promised and promised and promised, and I really want him to have it. He's a very crochet-worthy individual. He's so supportive of what I do, and of the fact that my income, you know, it's not as reliable as it once was. So he's been such, you know, just so supportive during all this time that I want to make him that sweater. I really do. So it's going to have a little bit of color work because it's going to have the Subaru symbol on it. Not sponsored. My husband's just a super fan of Subaru. He owns one, and he kind of got me into that too. Now I'm like, every time I see a Subaru, I'm like, love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Anyway, so I've got that sweater that I need to start. My brother, I started his socks, his Christmas socks, because and last year he was a little bit sad that I just bought alpaca socks from somebody and I didn't make him his own pair of socks. So I'm doing that this year. And I think I've got a pair of socks planned for Mom. I don't know. She said that, you know, it's been too hot lately to wear, so yeah. But those are some of the Christmas gifts that I have in mind. So in terms of crochet and crafty things, that's what I've been up to, or at least part of what I've been up to. I've also been doing some knitting. I've got 2 socks on the go, and I cannot wait to talk to you more about those, but not today, because otherwise this episode will never end, because I am in a very chatty mood. So the other thing that I guess I just wanted to talk to you guys about is other things that I've been doing other than crochet. Because to be honest, even though I have been working on crochet and doing crochet, I haven't felt very inspired by it. I don't know if it's a season thing, like I mentioned, that I feel like I should be working on other projects and not these lighter summer things, or just things that I'm enjoying. I feel like I should be working on more things and providing more content, and I feel guilty taking a step back and trying to not provide more content but provide quality content, so quality over quantity, and I'm feeling guilty for doing that. So it's kind of detracted from the magic of crochet a little bit, which is why it's been so lovely to make Hannah's Treasure Island shawl, because I just turn my brain off and do what the pattern tells me to do. So in terms of trying to revive that creativity, I've been enjoying, of course, watching historical historians. Really. I've been enjoying watching a vintage style videos where people, you know, dress up, put together vintage outfits, or Bernadette Banner, where she talks about history and dress, and Abby Cox, and all these different kind of historical channels. And it's also led me down a reading rabbit hole. I don't know if you're aware, if you're an Amazon Prime member, every month I think they will send you a list of pre-orders that you can purchase. They're free. You can have one for free. And I regret the one I downloaded, because the one I downloaded was about I don't even remember the name, but it was essentially about this socialite in the 19th century, And I thought, oh, that sounds so cool. It's history. She's a person. It's kind of like a biography. It was a biography. Man, is it so boring. I cannot. So this is the thing with history. It is fascinating. History is fascinating. The way people write history is boring. There are, I feel, very few historians that can actually write a book that channels all the magnificence or cruelty or personality of this character from history, this dead person, you know. One of them is Stacy Schiff. I really love how she writes. She wrote books she's written that I've read are Cleopatra. I've started reading her Salem Witch Trial account, but there's so many characters that it kind of takes my brain a while to wrap around. But anyway, kind of along this historical venture, I've picked up 2 used books that I'm excited to read. One of them, I just lost the marker to. That's nice. Okay. Longbourn, which, you know, it can be considered Pride and Prejudice fan fiction. So Longbourn is, I'll just read you the back of the book. It's a novel by Joe Baker, and the back says, "These servants take center stage in this irresistibly imagined below-stairs answer to Pride and Prejudice. While Elizabeth Bennet and her sister fuss over balls and husbands, Sarah, their orphaned housemaid, is beginning to chafe against the boundaries of her class. When a new footman arrives at Longbourn under mysterious circumstances, the carefully choreographed world Sarah has known all her life threatens to be completely, perhaps irrevocably, upended." Here, Joe Baker reveals lives mentioned only fleetingly in Jane Austen's classic novel, daring to take us beyond the drawing rooms of Regency England and uncovering the real world of the novel that has captivated the hearts of readers around the world for generations. And I got this used book at Hello Again Books. It is a shop in downtown Cocoa. No, historical downtown Cocoa. Yeah, okay. And I picked it up because it was Pride and Prejudice related. I've read eight chapters. I'm about to start chapter 9. And one of the reasons I've been kind of putting it down is because I've read Pride and Prejudice many times. I first read it, I think, when I was 15 years old. 15, 14, something around that time. I remember I started reading it in a beach. Anyway, and borders were still a thing. So I bought Pride and Prejudice, I've read it, I've fallen in love with those characters, and here you get to see a more wholesome side of them because you get to see how they interact with their servants. And it makes me a little bit angry, Lydia's carelessness, talking about how boring Mr. Hill is right in front of his wife, Mrs. Hill, just because she's a servant and she's supposed to be neither seen nor heard. And yeah, it makes me very angry, but it's very well written. I do like the maids and hearing about their stories, and it really makes you think that yes, we fall in love with the balls, the gowns, and everything about Pride and Prejudice, but the only reason they were able to do the things they did was because somebody was waking up at 4 a.m. to make sure everything in the house was running smoothly and they had breakfast ready. So I get a little bit frustrated reading this book, but so far I'm enjoying it. And the other book that I've read, started reading it. It's a behemoth. She's a big one. And I mostly get my books secondhand from either thrift stores or Better World Books. So sometimes they don't come with their dust covers. Yeah. But anyway, this one is Lady of the Forest by Jennifer Robertson. It's not going to focus. And it is a book about Maid Marian, essentially. Maid Marian and Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest and all these things. And I'm liking the book, but it's also it feels more real than any of the Robin Hood movies that we're kind of used to, just because she does touch upon the fact that royalty sometimes did whatever they felt like it, and the the little value women had to them at that time, and seen from that perspective, it also makes me angry. It also makes me angry, but it's very well written. So far, I'm only 61 pages in, and also 8 chapters in, so that's kind of funny. 8 chapters in this book, 8 chapters in this book. I take turns reading them because I have a very overactive imagination, and usually whatever the last thing I read, see, or hear at night, I will dream about it. So I try to avoid reading things that will make me angry or scared or sad, because I will dream about them, and not the most pleasant dreams sometimes. But so yeah, in The Lady of the Forest, Amazon has a preview, I think. Yeah, so far so good. I'm actually enjoying these 2 books. I was technically reading 3 because I was also reading that historical account, but maybe I'll skip to the end to find out what happened to this woman. But it is essentially about Lolita Montes, you know, and how she carved a life for herself in a society that is very constricting, obviously. She was born in India, her dad died there, her mom remarried, she was sent to boarding school in England, where she didn't want to go because she loved India. But her mom never connected with her. She married at 15 to escape her mom, and it was a horrible marriage. He was abusive, and she divorced him. And her options were stay in India and reconcile with her husband, or divorce him and move to England and live with her stepfather's family, I believe it was. And she decided to divorce him and move to England, but run away and have some affairs. I don't know how many she had, because of course people speak badly of any woman that had any sort of independence at that time, and her independence really depended on men. And yeah, you know, it sounds interesting, but she's not a likable character. I thought she was very immature, and you know, I guess she did what she had to do, but also, girl, like, you needed to act a little more responsibly. I'm not judging what you did, I'm just kind of judging your character about how you want people to fold to you and your whims and everything. I don't know, so far I'm just not liking her, and the writing is kind of boring. So that's a problem with biographies. You really have to feel a connection to the person you're reading about. I'm sure if I were to write an autobiography, people would be like, what are you? But anyway, so that's what I've been up to, what I've been doing. Yesterday we went on a mini adventure trying to find some trails and things to do in Florida close by. Ichida went on his first trail. We got rained on, drenched, so drenched, but we had fun, and that's the important thing. So tell me what you guys are doing. How are you guys finding your crochet? Has your inspiration been waning? Have you been keeping okay and safe? Are you mentally okay? Because it's been stressful, you know, all the news, everything you hear on the news, all these Delta variants for COVID. It's just like, my husband and I, we wanted to take a trip to New Hampshire to visit my brother, and now we're wondering if we should because of COVID. But anyway, let me know how you guys are doing, okay? I want to hear what you're doing. I want to hear what you've been up to. I want to chat with you. I want to have conversations. So yes. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I just thank you, you know, for spending a little bit of crafty time with me. I hope I've been able to entertain you and keep you nice, good company. And if you are new here, thank you for clicking that watch button. And if you're a longtime viewer, then thank you so much for sticking with me. And I just want to wish you guys a happy crafting, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time with another video. Bye!